Okay, in that first sentence, we actually have two prepositional phrases that are building the meaning. So koalas, the number of koalas was not known, but distribution had been recorded. So their distribution had been recorded. And then the first prepositional phrase is across an area of 2,000 square kilometers. So it's an area um, in habitats featuring these different kinds of trees. So they're bringing together two prepositional phrases into, they've been recorded across this area in space, but only in these environments. So they're putting those two elements together to get to talk about both the geographical range and the environmental preferences of koalas. So they've been recorded across that area. That doesn't mean they're everywhere in that area. So it means that they're distributed across. So to be distributed across means that they're found within that area and presumably not outside of it, but that inside that area there are also particular types of trees in habitats, that is particular environments that suit them. Yeah, so in that area there might be lots of different kinds of environments because it's quite a large area, but scattered throughout, there's probably some spaces where they have manna gum and some where they have woodland communities of blue gum. Yeah. Yeah, a suitable environment for this species. So we can talk about koala habitat. This idea of habitat is it's a type of environment with the right kind of trees, the right conditions, probably places that aren't too close to lots of human beings and that have plenty of leaves to eat. So in that last sentence, um, you could say there were habitats in which koalas might eventually consume all the available food, or there were concerns that. So it's what happens after. It's the again, it's those prepositions. It's those circumstantial elements in the sentence which give us the clue that habitats doesn't work here, because a habitat is something happens in a habitat, but you have a concern for or a concern that, or in this case just a concern koalas might eventually consume. So it's actually which of these nouns admits a certain kind of preposition, a certain kind of circumstance. Say concerns for koalas might, because of the might eventually do this, you'd have to say concerns that or just concerns. If it was concerns for, it would be concerns for the welfare of koalas or the survival of koalas, or concerns for koalas because they might eventually consume. So we need to modify some other elements in the sentence. The other thing that tells us that it's not habitats is that we actually have in an area appended at the end of that clause. So there's already an in this clause. There's already that preposition, all the available food in an area. So to say there were habitats in which koalas might eventually consume all the available food in an area would be a bit strange because you're kind of referring to the space that they're in twice. So that's another subtle clue that habitats won't quite work here. I would say in which koalas might eventually consume all of the available food in the area. So because habitat would have been introduced as the space in which this is taking place, we actually can't use in an area because that's an indefinite article. It's telling us that the area hasn't already been mentioned, whereas we would need in the area to work in that way. So yeah, it's actually the combination of in an area that shows us that we can't have already introduce the space that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Mm.
Great.